What is it the Bears are seeing in Shane Waldron that we didn't see here, Dave? What is it that made him appeal? And this is not a bash Shane Waldron moment because I feel like he wasn't bad, but I just don't feel like he was great. And I don't know how much of it is him. It made me wonder, all right, the Bears see something in him to bring him, and I don't know that it's official, but the word is he's going to be their offensive coordinator. So I'm looking at him going, all right, if I'm the Bears, what is it that sold me on him? Is there maybe a perception that he was not being held, or he was being held back maybe by Pete, or he didn't have the talent that we have here and he can really, cut loose out here? What do you think?
Yeah, I talked to somebody with the Seahawks, and they felt like at the end of the year he was one of the really good teachers, which leads me to believe that maybe this is about something else. This is not about Shane. Maybe he didn't, because we talked about the two things that I just complained about. And really, if you were to ask me, what were my biggest complaints last year offensively, was that we just didn't uncork it enough. I mean, you got, like I said, DK singled up. Let's go, man.
What about lack of commitment to the run?
Trust
is that
your
Pete,
guys.
or is that Shane?
Well, I'm getting to that.
Oh, all right.
But yeah, I mean, to me, that was the huge part. But yeah, the lack of commitment to the run, you wouldn't think it would be Pete, right? I mean, Pete is one of those guys that's what he wants to do. He wants to play good defense. He wants to run. But yeah, I don't. Those were two glaring problems. Now, I guess there's a chance. I don't know what the chain of command is, right? I mean, I feel like with Pete, he has said before, I leave these guys alone. They operate with autonomy. It's not like I'm constantly leaning over their shoulder. I trust my assistants. But, I mean, and I don't know if it just kind of gradually, maybe it's one of those things like at the end of the year, Pete looked at it and went, oh, man, we really didn't commit to the run. Like it didn't seem like it situationally, and he could probably take you through a bunch of situations where, okay, we started off with this, now it's first and 15, and now this comes up, and now it's second and 12. You tell me where to run.
Yeah.
When are we supposed to run here? And I feel like that's what happens, that a game gets on top of you, all of the situations, and then you get away from the things that you do best. But and I don't really even know if that's what we did best because we didn't commit to it, the running game. So those are the two head-scratching things. But I would throw in the caveat that, maybe it had to do with, maybe they're having conversations. Maybe Shane is telling the Bears, here's what I wanted to do, man. And, we weren't able to get to it.
Yeah, because you look at them, I mean, they rank toward the bottom of the league when it comes, in most categories on both sides of the ball. We talked about it. The best ranking they had was 14th, and that was passing yards. Everything else was, their third down conversion's terrible. Their yards per game is terrible. Their attempts were way down. Yeah. So KJ Wright was asked about this in relation to Shane Waldron, and he says, he's explaining why he wouldn't fully blame Waldron for the third down problems and the run game issues.
So Brock, what do you do when you try to run the ball and it's not effective, when you're getting stalemated at the line of scrimmage? Then on top of that, you can't even get the run game going because you're bottom 5 of the league when it comes to third down. And so I look at Shane. I feel like he's trying to run the ball, but K9, O-line, give me something. But Gino, I need you to keep me going on third down so I can come back to it. And so I look at football, and everything's connected. The play calling, the third down, the O-line, the run game, everything has got to be in sync.
Yeah, you know what I always think of as far as that goes, the situations. Looking at the Ram game, the Los Angeles Rams at L.A., they end up losing that game. Remember Pete talked about it in his exit press conference, like, shoot, we missed it. We 5 yards away from that being a field goal that we could kick. In that game, there were so many times where the situations were dead ball foul or a holding penalty or something like that, and it put you into passing situations. You just didn't really have a choice. Mm-hmm. So, that's all part of it, like KJ's saying, and then it's more than it's like when you get a guy who carries the ball 2 times for 30 yards, you go, wow, he had a 15-yard average. Why didn't they have him, carry it more? Why didn't they give him the ball? Well, it doesn't really work out that way. It's a lot of times just situations. So, we're looking at stats, but just thinking back, I thought they put themselves in bad positions because of mistakes and things like that. But then, then there's a couple of times where you see they have a nice run set up, and you see Aaron Donald or somebody like that blast through the line and tackle for loss, and now you're looking at 3rd and long.
Yeah, and certainly that's part of it. There's no doubt about it. And the line had their issues, staying healthy. We never knew who was going to be on the line for a good part of the season. So that's not saying that doesn't play into it. But it felt like at least 4 or 5 games. I remember Pete post-game press conference. Man, we just didn't run as much as I would have liked to.
Yeah.
He said it. He said it himself, unprompted. Nobody asked the question. It was his lament right there. Yeah, really. We got to get that going. We got to get that going.
Yeah.
We need to get that run game going. I wish we had more attempts. Those were his words.
Yeah.
So he was aware of it, and it was. Yeah, I'm not saying they're opening giant holes, and why aren't you taking advantage of it? But there's also just a general lack of commitment to it. Because that's how the run game goes. Not every running play is going for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 yards. Sometimes you're no gain. Sometimes you lose a yard. Then you bust one for 7. And then that's just the nature of it. And it's the commitment to it. Like, hey, no, we're going to keep pounding this thing. Okay? And I get getting off schedule. Yeah, third and 10, you're not running the ball. I get that. But that's not always true. That wasn't always true for them. That they were always in this
right.
terrible situations.
Yeah, you're right. It should have been more of that. And you know what? The game that really mystifies me, I did a football 101 thing on this when they played the Commanders. They had a couple of plays where just a post and pull and a trap, and have the tight end up. It was just beautiful. I mentioned it in the tape when I'm talking. I'm like, it's one of my favorite things. It's like a really good pick and roll in basketball, or you see a beautiful throw from the outfield to home plate to get a runner out. Watching a team and their run scheme get a body on a body, and that's what the 49ers do so well, and they're so committed to it. You look at their receivers are just ridiculous as far as their blocks downfield, but that was a time when they were really operating really well with the run game, and they had it, and you're like, that's it. They have the formula, and then, yeah, they just ended up getting away from it.